Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of CrafterCast. These will be short, informal podcasts focused on interesting topics related to modern content management. Things like headless, composability, and of course, CrafterCMS. We're going to talk about best practices, how-tos, and how real enterprises are solving challenges in developing, operating, and delivering content-rich digital experiences. So hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. And today's topic is going to be DevContentOps. So with me here today is Russ Danner, our VP of Products at Crafter. I'm Mike Vertel. And to start this off, Russ, why don't you give us an overview of what is DevContentOps?
Sure. So what people are familiar with is DevOps, right? Where we bring together developers and operations and we try to make their work more seamless with a lot less friction and sort of share the responsibility of creating and rolling out software. DevContentOps is trying to do the same thing, but with more constituents. So in a very rich content-oriented application, you've got authors who are creating content, you've got developers who are creating functionality, and you've got ops responsibilities to roll that application out. And the more people you add to the party, the more needs there are, the more friction there is, in terms of coordinating the whole creative and delivery process. And so DevContentOps is similar to DevOps in trying to bring together all those constituencies and help them work together in a very seamless and very productive way.
Right. So what does that mean in more detail from a technical perspective?
Sure. So if we think about each of the constituents, right, for authors, what it means is that they should have great tools to create content. And if we think about content management in general over the last 20 years, that's really what we focused on in the beginning, is making it easy for non-technical authors to create websites and digital experiences that are really primarily web-based. I think as we go forward, what it means is they need tools to create digital experiences for all channels and all sorts of technologies. But again, keeping it really straightforward, simple for them, visual, more of what they've had in the past, but across more experiences. For developers, it means going beyond the benefits that they see with headless. So headless has given them the ability to use any programming language, any framework, more easily address the multi-channel concern, but headless doesn't do anything to address kind of the process side of things.
Right.
And so we want to address that. And on the ops side, again, sort of seamless integration, particularly on the content side, being able to move content back from production to lower environments and to the developer environments, and facilitate the development and the testing process, which we would call in the DevContentOps parlance, content back. And on the other side of that, being able to take features, whether they're developed by a single developer or a team of developers, to take those features and move them forward through the testing process, through the QA and certification process up to production seamlessly, which we would call code forward. So right. It's those kinds of things. Also, I would include in there easier deployments and so on. Any kind of automation of that process, anything that it makes it easier for these groups to work together seamlessly would be part of DevContentOps.
And the ultimate goal really is to dramatically improve productivity and the efficiency of delivering content-rich digital experiences, whether those are your public-facing website, a customer portal, a mobile app, an e-commerce experience, you name it.
Absolutely.
I see one of the primary benefits of DevOps for enterprise software development is increasing the frequency of feature development, being able to go from a business requirement to a delivered feature faster and more reliably. And what DevContentOps is, to me, is doing the same thing for content managed software apps. So from a software developer perspective, you get the same benefits of all of their DevOps processes and tooling, but bringing the content team into that equation so that the traditional bottlenecks of traditional CMSs are eliminated, and some of the productivity enhancements that have been proven in DevOps for software come to the content teams. Things like continuous publishing, the concept of continuous publishing that we talk about, and our clients, enterprise customers, our open source users take advantage of, is the ability to go from an idea to, for a content piece, which might include a software feature coupled with that, going from that requirement to published in live out to the audience, doing that in faster, with a higher level of productivity, and ultimately engaging the audience faster and better.
And a great example of that is where content actually has traditionally created a problem is in organizing when particular features go live. So if you think about a modern organization that really competes based on their digital innovation and they're constantly building new features, they've got a lot of things in the pipeline, right? So some things are very quick things to do, some things take longer, and sometimes you've got multiple, let's say, mid-sized projects, locked and loaded, and you're working on that, and you think that the order is going to go ABC, right? And that's your plan as a product manager. It's going to be ABC, and somewhere along the way, there's a hang up with project A, and all of a sudden they can't release at that time, and you've got to start thinking about, well, do I put C in front? Is C further along? And so on.
Right.
Well, in a traditional environment, the way that you have to sort of manage the content from production and make sure that the content team is working on the right content at the right time and get that content back to those lower environments and those testing and to the developer environments, it gets really challenging. And also managing those features, and when you bring them into the CMS and when you bring the content into the CMS, it just becomes really messy and really hard. So what we see with traditional CMSs is, and really any CMS that doesn't support DevContentOps, is that you can't order things. Once you sort of commit to a particular feature and a particular order, you're kind of locked into that. And so one feature could hold up a whole product's delivery cycle.
Right. So
DevContentOps, if it's really functioning very well, should allow you to say, I see that there's a hang up here. Let me reorder these features, and that implies some kind of capabilities like we see with branching with source code, right? We know that when we're developing software, we can create different branches. We have our features on those particular branches, and we can decide when they merge down, and we devise processes that allow us to make those decisions as things become ready, like later in the development process, so that we can make decisions about when things get in. And I think that's really powerful, and we want to make sure that is part of the content-rich application development cycle.
Yep. So what about the technology? What do we use to enable this with Crafter?
At Crafter, we use Git. So Git provides a really strong versioning capability that basically operates like a time machine. And from a versioning perspective, that's awesome. But it also enables us to sync repositories. I mean, if I want to get content from production, if I have the permissions to do it, I could just say git pull, and it's going to pull that content down. And there is no content freeze. There is no database export. I just perform a Git operation, and the systems are synced. Even more interesting, the sync is not an all or nothing sync. I can have content in my lower environment and do a Git pull from production, and it's going to merge those things. It's not going to overwrite them, which is what you see with the traditional export all the content from production and import it into the lower environment.
Mm-hmm.
You do that, then anything that you had in that lower environment's gone. So there's an additional benefit there. And Git has branches. So that's huge, because we just talked about a use case where that can really make the difference between you're on schedule or you're not, right?
Yeah.
That's huge. And then the last reason we use Git is just because it's from an adoption perspective. All the tools out there for developers and operations are Git-based. Git is so dominant, and this just gives us native integration with everything. And it's not Git-like, it's just Git. So that's huge. A lot of times people ask us if it's fundamental, do you have to be based on Git? And the way I would answer it is from a concept perspective of what is DevContentOps. Git is not fundamental to satisfying those, the definition of DevContentOps, but you can see that it is absolutely a perfect enabler of the features and functions of DevContentOps.
Yeah, I think we found it to be the best enabler at this point. Talk about our APIs that we put on top of a Git-based repository to enable the integration with other CI/CD tools.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think because when people hear, that we use Git, they think, oh, well, then Git is the only interface to the system. And that's not true. We have a server on top of Git, and it has APIs, all kinds of APIs that range from the APIs that support the authoring application, the UI that makes it easy to edit content, to APIs that support the automation of your DevContentOps process. So for example, doing a Git pull or a Git push, of course you can do those with Git commands, but if you're in Jenkins or some other CI/CD platform, you want to just be able to call the system and say, hey, do a Git pull for me on this branch, or create a site based on this version, or what have you. And so we have APIs that just make all of that simple and easy.
Great. Well, I think that's a great summary of DevContentOps and a little bit about how we implement it at CrafterCMS. So I think we'll wrap up this CrafterCast here. So thank you, Russ. For the audience, if you found this useful, hit the like button, share this with your friends and colleagues, and subscribe to our channel for future episodes. We hope to do this on a weekly basis going forward on a variety of topics. Also in the comments, feel free to leave us any comments and or suggested topics that you'd like us to talk about. And as a final note on DevContentOps, we have our own media channel called DevContentOps.io, where we have a growing body of content there all around this topic. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.